So recently I bought a guitar on eBay and I was kind of burned a little bit. Now don't get me wrong, I didn't get a brick in place of a pedal or a Chibson instead of a Gibson or something that was totally damaged beyond repair. But basically I was told the guitar was in, good condition overall, but it kind of turned out that it wasn't. Now I got back into guitar playing a few years ago and I had to learn the ins and outs of buying new guitars, used guitars, all of that. So I kind of figured that I could read between the lines and it was kind of hard to really pull a fast one on me. But it just goes to show you, no matter how prepared you are, sometimes you can just be on the losing end. But I did buy a 2003 Fender Showmaster in gloss black. Has a nice binding, kind of like a Les Paul, set neck, all that good stuff. But it was just basically a model I've been looking for a long time. So this is the fourth Showmaster that I have bought. And in my experiences, most models, if they're kind of like near mint, or, very good condition, they'll range anywhere from, about 600 to 750, kind of depending on everything, right? And this guy here I ended up paying $550 for, but with everything that was kind of wrong with it, I would probably say this should have sat around about $450, $500. And you could be looking at this and going, well, that looks pretty good, right? What's the big deal about it? So first, there's some undisclosed damage. The picture that was put up basically just made it look like, normal kind of wear, cosmetic, maybe a paint chip. However, it actually turned out to be much more than that, and it actually went down into the wood. So definitely a lot harder to repair, and since I'm not a luthier or a woodworker, it's not something that I can easily fix. Also, when I got it, I noticed that the input jack didn't really work. So for me, that's sending off the guitar senses saying that there's probably some electrical damage in here as well. So I did take it down to the local guitar shop, and they did confirm that the pickup jack and the tone pot had to be replaced. So that wasn't something I really anticipated. As you can see though, I did go ahead and mod it out and put the Nazgul pickup in the bridge position and a Pearly Gates Plus up in the neck. But still, I wasn't anticipating there was going to be some extra damage, and obviously that's going to incur an extra cost, which I really wasn't prepared for. I understand a 23-year-old guitar, yeah, we're going to have to get it cleaned up, get it set up and all that, and it did turn out to look pretty nice. But yeah, when I first got it, seeing the wood chip, the electronics not working, all the, frets were all just gross and grimy. Yeah, it definitely did not fit in that good category in my opinion. And even if you go, well, the rest of it's still pretty decent, well, there's definitely some binding chips and things around here as well too. There's some deeper scratches on the back, up here on the front. Because for me, good condition is it plays good. There's just cosmetic damage that doesn't go into the wood or super deep, and that all the electronics work. So for me, this fit kind of under my definition of fair, right? Obviously, we had some electrical issues where you literally couldn't really play the guitar, and then there's some larger damage that was more than just like some little scrapes or scuffs like that was in the description for the guitar. So now you're asking, well, why didn't you just return the guitar then? Well, I've been looking for this model for a long time. If it was just a basic like Stratocaster, Tele, Les Paul, yep, we would send it back without any issues. But even though these Showmasters aren't worth a lot, they are still kind of rare, and for another one of these black ones to pop up, I don't know how long it would take. So I decided just to get it repaired. And then you might argue, well, it is a 23-year-old guitar, of course there's going to be issues. Yeah, I expected some cosmetic issues, but if you went and bought a used car, yeah, you might expect some like paint issues and stuff like that, but you'd expect the steering wheel to work. So the issue though really is the seller just didn't disclose the electrical issues or the chip, but it's almost the electrical issues almost becomes more of the big deal because again, they had to have tried to plug it in, I would assume, and they would have known right away that the jack was bad. There's no way around it. And I know these are a little more rare, but again, that wouldn't give it a free pass of like, well, you're not going to find these, so, get it while the getting's good. It's like, no, if you say it's in good condition, I'm still going to expect it to be in playable condition out of the box. Because if you went and bought a vintage guitar, and they're like, yeah, this is in good condition, and then, yeah, you started trying to play it, and you're like, hey, nothing's working, and they go, oh, well, it is older and kind of a rarer model, we just figured you would understand that nothing was going to work on it. You'd go, not a chance, fix it. So I did go back to the seller and I had a very professional message that was sent basically saying, hey, the damage was more than reported. I had to replace some of the electronics. Like, what can we do to make this right? So they basically just went with this stock response of like, well, our policy, not eBay's, is not to offer any partial refunds, and yeah, you can just return it back to us. And now, that is what rubbed me the wrong way. They didn't acknowledge anything about the electronics or the damage, no apology, just a response that really lacked empathy, and they didn't care. So I guess that might have tipped me a little bit more than it should, but it really comes back again to they did not disclose this. And you would expect the seller to disclose any issues. I shouldn't have to send follow-up questions or, badger them over and over to go, hey, does the pickup jack work in this thing? Like, that should just be a given if it's not disclosed. So if they would have just, said, hey, we're sorry, or, hey, yeah, we'll offer to, send you half of what the repair was or something like that. I mean, realistically, the repair was only like $60 to get the two things fixed, so it wasn't that much, but enough when you sit back and think about it, go, well, I definitely overpaid for it. Now I have to pay more to get it repaired. Awesome. And the whole experience upsets me, but it also makes me kind of upset too, thinking about, what if you had like a beginner guitarist out there who went and bought a guitar like that? They would go, they try to plug it in, it wouldn't work. Well, they don't know anything about electronics and guitars. They may not have a local guitar shop around to go to. That could really demotivate someone and make them just put down the guitar. That could end someone's guitar career right there. And that's not cool. Now, I'm not saying all eBay sellers are bad or all online sales are bad. And heck, even this guy has a strong history of selling guitars online. So, something is bound to slip through the cracks. Unfortunately, I was on the receiving end of this one. However, at the end of the day, though, I am going to still continue to buy used guitars online because it saves a ton of money. But, you just hope that sellers out there at least have some type of empathy, because I know personally that if I was in this situation, I would have done whatever it was to make it right. But not acknowledging anything, I really didn't like that, and I feel that isn't really good for the customer. So if things were handled just a little bit differently, this video probably wouldn't have been made. But again, maybe there is some good that comes out of this. If you're watching this, it just makes you think a little bit harder online, what to look for, maybe some questions to ask. But on that note, I'm going to end the video here. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead, check out the description down at the bottom for a bunch of my social links, music stuff, all that good stuff. Anyways, I appreciate the time you took out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you in the next video.